Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be about my car camping setup. I'm going to have, it's a new channel, brand new channel. I'm going to be having some initial videos with just all my setups for my backpacking, my car camping, and today's car camping. So when I eventually first started going into thinking about car camping, I wanted to have it so that everything was to hand. I didn't want to have to open a box and get my tea stuff out and then put it away again, open the stove out for food and then put it away again, and get another box out for clothes, another box out for food and stuff. I wanted to be able to just grab it off the shelf, just like in a proper camper, grab it off the shelf, stove permanently set up. And that's how I had it. I had a huge shelf going from behind the front passenger seat right to the other end, and a bed the other side, and I even had a water canister so I could just turn the tap on, hold the cup underneath, and that worked brilliantly for a while until I started getting really bad hip pains, and I realised it's because I was sitting in a position where I was cross-legged and my legs were up for hours on end because I was sat on the bed. That was my sofa. So last few months I've had a recent change to the configuration it is now, which meant a few compromises of not reaching my goal of just reaching stuff off the shelf and not having to pull everything out, but on the whole it's worked out better and I'm much more comfortable. So that's my new setup. You know, as I said, there's compromises, but even those compromises I've streamlined a bit, so it's not as bad. But overall, this is a much more comfortable setup, and I think I've optimised it as best as I can. So let's get to it. So the car is a Citroen C3 Picasso Executive, the sort of higher spec model, I think. The wheels are an optional extra. That's what I absolutely loved about it. One of the things I loved about it. When I bought this car, I bought it without car camping in mind. I bought it because it has such a massive list of features that I really love about it, and that's why I bought it. I won't bother listing them all now. There's so many features. Some of them transferred over to car camping nicely, and some did not. But I couldn't afford anything else. You know, this is the car I got. I had to put up this car, and you know, I've gotten a place where I'm quite happy with it now. If I had the money, would I buy something else? I suspect so. But I am comfortable. I am happy with it, and it's a good, comfortable experience. We'll start off externally. For Christmas I got bought these windshield protectors. The front ones are fine, I've got no problem with them. The rear ones are a bit of an issue. It doesn't look like that they really thought about the design of the car when they made the windshield things, because I've given you two examples with both sides of the door. This is kind of where I want it, because it opens it as wide as it can without actually going below the window, going below the windshield, and that causes this big gap here for water to pour into, because the windows aren't square, they're rounded. Same with this side. Here's another smaller hole here, which means you have to wind the window up really high to close those gaps. Here's the other example of it being where I want it to be. So there's no holes in this one, but look at the tiny little gap. I don't know if you can see that. The tiny little gap, and that's all the air you can allow through the hole, which is a bit of a letdown, but I suppose it's better than nothing. I'll start with that's it for the exterior. I'll start with the interior. I'll start with the interior. I'll show you the interior. I'll start with the bed. The bed was great. Initially there was no need for any kind of money spent on it. I just got a mattress off Facebook that somebody was just giving away. They were selling it initially, nobody wanted it, and then they started giving it away. So I napped that off it, took it home, fumigated it, and then just slung it in the back. So it was just, because the good thing about this car is that when you put the seats down, the whole thing is completely flat, like a little minivan. So unlike other hatchbacks where you put the seat down and you've got a huge step where the back seats are, and then the floor starts at the boot. This is all flat all the way, even with a little flap on here that you fold over to cover the gaps. So I slung the mattress in the back for a while until I fancied a bit more space, wanted to create more cupboard space. So I then raised it up because I wanted to put my metal detector and my spade underneath, because I was sleeping with them. So underneath now I've got this, these are decking boards that my father-in-law gave me because he was ripping up decking out of the garden. So I screwed them all together, and I got to the point where it was really heavy. Decking's super heavy, and I stopped at this point. I put these two underneath, these two boards going across to screw them together, and there's another one at the other end, a bit difficult to see, and I stopped there. I was going to put a third one in the middle to brace them and screw legs on and blah, blah, but it was just too heavy. So I took this as feet, and I didn't screw them to it, as I said. These are off of a pallet. I got loads of pallet for projects because people give them away all the time. I break them down for the wood, and these are off of the centre pieces of a pallet. There's another one over there. So they're feet, and they're separate. I just literally put them on the car and then just plop the board on top. These are another bit of decking. I take these off or put these on to raise or lower the bed if I'm not quite on a sort of flat surface. Doesn't seem very thick, but that actually makes a huge difference. And then if you come around the front, it's the same on the front. You've got these another two here underneath here to hold them there. And I was a bit concerned about all the weight going on here on the front and compressing the seats. So I put this extra board here that is exactly the right length. It's not taking the weight, it's sharing the weight with the other feet. So between that and this sharing the weight, hopefully it doesn't push too hard down on the back of this seat and compress the seats too much. The mattress, just a mattress. I haven't bothered putting my duvet in there because it's just a duvet. Just slung the mattress on top like that. And that's the bed setup. That's quite simple. It fits in just perfectly. It's super comfortable. It's literally as comfortable as my bed at home because it's a proper mattress. It's essentially like on a divan in a sense. So cupboards. This is the cupboard that I was talking about earlier. That was shelving. That was going the whole length of the car, and I cut the two ends off and left the centerpiece, and now the shelving. So I still have, I mean, on here you've got my tea paraphernalia, food, more food down there, more food there, more food there. I only go for one night at a time. I could go for a week technically. This is my stove, and down here canister. This is a box of just bits and bobs I need for, you know, like toothbrush, toothpaste and bits and bobs. Down here is a frying pan and saucepan set for cooking, so that's the shelving sort of still in place, some of it, and so that kind of works. I keep my charging cables on it and stuff as well, so that's all my shelving. Come around here, this is the new addition. The reason for cutting all the shelving off is so that I could put the seat up. I now have, this is my armchair now, and I can either put my phone on here. This is kind of like my table. When I go to bed, it's a bedside table because this folds up down. Nice feature about the car. So I sleep in the bed there, and then that is, I can't see because of the sun. I think I'm showing you the chair that I had to put up, which meant cutting the shelves in half. But it's a much more comfortable arrangement. I have to sort of spin round a bit here to reach some shelving on the back, but that's not really a problem. And then the bed is right next to me on there. I keep a water container down there while I'm driving, and then when I get where I'm going, I move it out of the way because that's my foot room, it's my leg room. And that raising the bed, as I say, I did create shelving underneath. There's not much in there at the moment. That's collapsible washing up bowl. I've got some waterproofs there, and there's other bits and bobs to go in as well for camping. But this is just about sort of showing you my setup really. Oh yeah, and I had to, as you can see, put a board across the small windows. That's the inside. Across the small windows I put a board. I just cut out some cardboard and put tape across it. I probably should have used black tape actually, it would look more like a black and white window. So originally I had a curtain going from, where's my finger? Hey, here's my finger. Going from this window all the way across to the back window, but then you couldn't open the door, because every time I opened the door it sort of pulled the curtain off, so I had to concede and put a bit of card in the back, and then I can put the curtains on separate. So the curtains, while we're on the subject, all the curtains are from gazebos, that old gazebos that I've kept all the material, and I have a, again I can't see the sun, I have a sunshade built into the car door, and I pull that across and I just tuck the curtain behind it. Usually you've got like a knife and I just tuck it all down the sides just to sort of get rid of the light bleed for when I'm stealth. My £10 that I spent, because it cost me £10 to do the whole thing, was little magnets, because the shades don't go all the way to the top, so this all hangs down and lets light through, and luckily there's a bit of metal I can pop. It cost me £10 for a big pack of magnets that can just be popped on there, and then that gets tucked in behind there, allow me to completely cover the window. And inside, I don't know if I'm too close here, inside the front is a pole. I have to take them off. A pole that runs to the top, and there's like a T-bar, and then a pole runs all the way across to the other side like that. So it runs all the way across there to a T-bar, T-joint or whatever you call it, and then the pole runs to the floor down here. The sun's so bright I can't see if I'm showing you. Yeah, so the pole runs all the way up to the top there, and it's held in place with just a bungee, and then it goes into a T-bar at the top there, and it runs all the way down, and I just pull the curtain over the top of it, and I bent the top T-bar to fit the roof exactly, so there's no light bleed there as well. I see other people pulling curtains like from there across to there, but there's a huge gap of light bleed at the top, so I just took a metal bar and another metal bar from gazebos, old gazebo frames, and bent it into the correct shape. And this is just a bit of T-bar gazebo material that I pull over the top, and that completely covers the front. Right, so same with the side windows, they're all gazebo as well. I haven't put one on the back window, but it's another piece of gazebo material again, and I magnet, because all around here is all metal, so I just magnet it to the back window. I didn't bother putting it on, it's quite self-explanatory. It's just material on the rear window. Bob's your uncle. That's about it really. That's all I can think there is to show. Oh yeah, the compromise was now that I have to, when I want to have a cup of tea or something to eat or anything, I take this board, ignore these are just cut out because it used to be a shelf. A nice thick bit of board, no flexibility in it, no heat transfer because it's so thick, and I chuck that on there. That's my table, and I get all my bits and bobs out, such as my stove and that, and I put it on here, so I sit on the seat and I make all my tea and food and everything like that on this board. And then when I'm done, I just shift it all over on top of the shelf. It's very crudely made top shelf, because this set of shelving never had a shelf initially, the top shelf initially. So I just crudely made this shelf, and I just shove it all on, rather than putting it all back in the box and putting it all away and stuff like that. I just shift it all onto there when I go to bed, and then in the morning I just have to move it all back onto there again, onto this board. This board just slides down the side of the sofa. So that's my compromise. Whereas everything was on hand, now it has to just be whatever is on here, usually a stove and a cup or something, maybe a frying pan. I just move it all up onto there when I go to bed, So it takes like 10 seconds, and then in the morning I'll just bring it back over there again and put it back on here and use that as a table. That's my compromise, but it's virtually no issue at all, and I get the comfort of sitting on a proper chair and wanted to do that, which is really good. And that is my setup for the car. So that's my car camping setup. I said the model was an executive. I think it's not an executive, it's an exclusive. So that's my car camping setup. That's I hope that's given you something to think about. If not, maybe something just to entertain you, or maybe I'll give you some ideas. I did it all for £10, and that's my goal, is to try and do things cheap or for nothing if I can. It's not always easy, but I managed to do that for £10 for this one, for just some magnets, because I couldn't think of another way around that, and that's what I ended up with. This is the setup I ended up with. So I'm always happy to hear anyone's comments or thoughts on what I've done. Maybe you've got another way I can improve it or better, or maybe you can take something away from this. Whatever you want to get out of it, I just hope it entertained you. That's the whole point of the whole thing. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video, which is hopefully lots of fun car camping.